Hi, this is Pastor Mira from Carlisle United Methodist Church, and this is Sermon in 3 minutes. This past weekend was Memorial Day weekend in our communities and in our church, and we celebrated that holiday in our church with worship, and part of that was our sermon. Our sermon began with a story about Sergeant Kirkland, a Civil War sergeant who in Fredericksburg, Maryland, was in the midst of battle and from the Confederate side. He was raised in South Carolina. Sergeant Kirkland decided and asked for permission to go and help the Union soldiers who lay wounded between the battle lines. The general wasn't too excited, wasn't too sure that should happen, but Sergeant Kirkland put his life in danger to go and give water to those who were dying. We then went into the scripture in Luke chapter 7 that talks with the centurion, the Roman official, the head of the soldiers that was occupying Capernaum at the time. This soldier, this guy in charge of other soldiers, sent the message to Jesus through the Jewish leaders, asking that Jesus heal his servant. Now, this was weird at that time because centurion was of Roman faith in the Roman government, and he wasn't supposed to believe in Jesus or even know who Jesus was. And yet, through his faith, through learning about Jesus, he asked for healing for someone that served him and that was under him. Well, the Jewish leaders asked, Jesus was willing to do it, but then what we see happens is the centurion sends his friends to say, Jesus, don't come to my house. I'm not worthy of you. So man who the Jewish leaders thought was worthy, himself didn't think he was worthy of Jesus. We then talked about as a church, how do we as individuals and as a church show mercy? Do we do that through forming our own battle lines, or do we do that as Jesus did, willing to go to someone who wasn't of the right faith tradition, who wasn't supposed to believe in him, and who had a lot of stature and money? What does it mean for us as individuals to show mercy and not to draw battle lines? Sergeant Kirkland showed mercy back in the Civil War when he decided that helping others, that putting water down the throats of those that were injured, by straightening limbs and putting overcoats over them, that was more important than whether he would be killed in the line of fire. After 2 hours of him helping the wounded Union soldiers, the story goes, he raised his head and saw that the cannons had stopped, the shooting had stopped, and that for that small amount of time, soldiers on both sides saw that it was more important to help wounded soldiers than it was to continue the battle. He's an example of mercy for us from long ago. So how can we be examples of mercy as individuals and as a church here in our community? That's a wrap. That's what our sermon was this past week. We hope you come and join us sometime in the future. Thanks. Bye.